Hi, Anoa. My name is Mike, and I'm calling from Texas.
Hey, Mike, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, and I love your show, and I know it's going to blow up huge because you're fantastic, and your
Thank
your
you.
spirit is going to connect with people.
Awesome, thank you. So what can I do for you
Um,
tonight?
Oddly, both my wife and I heard of you in separate ways. I found you through the Ben Dixon Show,
Okay.
and I was talking about something that you said to my wife, and I said, uh, I'm watching this new show called The Way with Anoa, and she said, Anoa Changa, and she knew you through your social media stuff, because I guess you're a bit active on Facebook and Twitter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. Well, I don't do Facebook at all, so I only know you through the show. But she subsequent to that has reported posts to me that you're responsible for. So she follows you with interest in that way. I
Oh,
follow you with
sweet. Well,
interest in
tell her
this
I
way.
said thank you.
And I don't know if you happen to know anything about a bit of a social media setback that progressivism may be experiencing right now, and I wondered if you would comment on it. She belongs to a number of Facebook pages,
Okay.
and I don't need to name them, but one that's been quite active and very committed to Bernie Sanders for a long time. A number of people are being kicked off of now, Bernie supporters, and the rumor going around, and I don't have any substantiation for this. This is just rumor. The rumor is that the page has been bought by Correct the Record, and that this is happening to progressive sites all over through Facebook. The Correct the Record is simply giving monetary compensation to admins of these progressive web pages and then coming in and trying to turn the pages into pro-Hillary web pages. And I don't know if you know anything about that or if you can comment on it or if it's complete news to you.
Okay, so what I will say, thank you again, thank you and your wife for I appreciate it so much. It's always great to hear people actually when I went to the People Summit in June, it was so weird to meet people in Chicago from all over who would actually be like, "Hey, I know you." I said, "Really? Why? Why do you know me?" But then, so thank you so much. I appreciate that. In terms of the Facebook stuff, so I do know there are some kooky things going on with Facebook and Twitter, and I was going to mention this soon in the future. Not so distant future, we will be rolling out, some alternatives for people to consider using through Media Revolt, which is our parent, umbrella organization for Podcast Revolution and your podcast, and shout out to Michael Salomon and the rest of our team. So we will have some alternatives at some point in time for people, if we're concerned about some of the hookiness. And this actually brings me to the story of today about Yahoo. Apparently Yahoo has been in cahoots with surveilling your mail, your email and stuff, which Google actually does the same thing. So it really does raise issues and concerns with national security, but that's getting off topic for this conversation. So do I have any factual information? I do not. I would not be surprised though if this is happening. And I would say a few things, that either you have people who decided they are going to be Hillary volunteers, campaign volunteers, who ran those pages. There were some pages, so I run a couple of Facebook pages and Facebook groups too. Most of them directly related to Bernie Sanders, and so we did see issues where people were being booted off and groups were being converted because they had been infiltrated by Clinton supporters. And actually, this happened, to some extent before the primary was even over, but we've seen it happening. There are quite a few people who actually support Jill Stein, and the groups went green. But so we did see that happen. We have been flooded. So I am an admin on African Americans for Bernie page and People of Color for Bernie. And so we have been flooded with requests from people volunteering for the Hillary Clinton campaign about why we need to be advocating for her and publishing information. So I do know there are attempts. I have been told by an unnamed source that there are certain organizations that want the African Americans for Bernie page, for example. So I do know there is some type of business out there that is involved with that. I don't know the specifics and I don't have an actual source to cite, but anecdotally, I do know there is some hokiness that's going on with the pages. I do know that there are some pages where they feel that the constant barrage of anti-Clinton comments have been a detractor, so they've gotten rid of those people if you're overly critical of Hillary Clinton. I actually unfollowed one of the pages not because I understand what pages have to do for the sake of their own personal administration, but I think when you have grown a page and grown a group and you decided to like completely change, to all of a sudden get rid of those people that have been with you is odd. But I encourage people who, social media is a weird place, but it's a great place, but it's a weird place as well. It's a very seventh grade mean girl cafeteria place. But I really do encourage everyone, if you do find a safe space, I mean, you know, you and your wife can always come join us in our Progressive Army. We have a Progressive Army discussion group on Facebook. You know, that's a space where we're trying to encourage discussion, encourage people to come and like, share, but share and discuss, because we really actually want to promote good, robust discussion. If you have friends who are conservative, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be anti-Hillary to be in spaces. I mean, I'm not necessarily anti-Hillary. I'm not pro-Hillary. I'm kind of agnostic, to quote Wendy Muse. I'm agnostic on this subject. But yes, I do know there have been some weird things going on with the Facebook pages. I mean, it's a hot commodity because especially a lot of these Bernie group pages in particular, or progressive groups, people really put in a lot of time and effort and worked very hard for Senator Sanders. And the idea, the thought was that we would just turn it all over to support Hillary Clinton. And that's not happened. I mean, when you grow thousands, tens of thousands, you put in all that extra hour. And, you know, as volunteers, we worked, you know, on our own. We were self-directed, we were self-motivated, and we were unpaid. And we worked very hard. So to just turn over anything, and some of the stuff I've received on African Americans for Bernie and people coming for Bernie have been very condescending and rude. And it's just like, you all really don't know. So we see the different pieces placed in the media about how millennials need to do this. I got an email actually today from DFA about how it is the fate of the free world rests on the votes of progressives, people of color, and millennials. Huh? Who the hell decided that that was an okay thing to write? The fate of the free world? No. You people should have voted for Bernie damn Sanders and we would have had this problem right now. Nah, but for real. I mean, it's like we have a month out. It's crunch time. I do see some changes. Sometimes, you know, you say stuff and you wonder, like, are people actually spying on me and listening to what I'm saying? Because now I've seen the Clinton campaign is actually hitting at Mike Pence. The VP presidential debates actually going to come up in a few minutes. But that's been my thing. It's like, you know, if you really want to get people to vote for your ticket and against Bush, against Trump, you need to start talking about how much of a disaster Mike Pence is. And, you know, I've said it before, like that Ted Cruz would be the only candidate that could get me to vote for her. The fact that Mike Pence is possibly the brains behind the operation, that's some scary stuff, man. He is a super bigot. He might be nicer, you know, in terms of his verbiage than Donald Trump, but he is the big of the two of them. He's the real bigot because he has the legislative history to back it up. So yes, it is hard being a progressive, and the problem is as long as we use the instruments of corporate America to do our activism, we will always have limitations and challenges, and it is imperative on us to not just build out and support independent media, but to build out our own platforms and opportunities for engaging and building together, because there are different, you know, proposals and policies in play, and if things are, you know, that's why, you know, net neutrality was such a big deal for, you know, before, and just even some of the provisions within TPP. I mean, there's so much that rests on the ability for us to have the free exchange of information and access to things like YouTube and the internet, to be able to engage in dialogue like this. Otherwise, you know, it limits our ability, you know, to organize, mobilize, educate, and revitalize the movement, right? Like the struggle is real. So I definitely appreciate that conversation, because I don't, like I said, I don't know for certain, but it wouldn't surprise me, because Correct the Record's entire purpose is propaganda. Promote, and it's one thing to promote your candidate, but Correct the Record through their little trolls. I mean, I'm sure many of you, if you're on Twitter in particular, you've experienced, you can spot them a mile away. They're not very educated, and not that I'm educated in terms of book smart, but educated about the issues, educated about, you know, what's going on. They don't really have much of that. They are all over the place, and they can't make a valid point, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on. So I would not be surprised if Correct the Record has somehow, gathered up some of these pages, because that's prime real estate. If you have a page that you grew to like 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people, that's a huge reach, right? If you ever look at some of these pages and how many likes and shares they get, that's huge and that's easy. So, and a lot of people are engaging. I mean, digital media, digital activism, digital organizing in and of itself is not the only thing, but I think especially when they're talking about so many of us who trying to get people over to the other side, because people may have noticed the past few months some of your favorite pages start posting like really weird stuff. You're like, huh, what, why? So it's been a process, but it's something, but it's not going. This is we're entering a new age, and we're gonna have to be more vigilant than ever. So I'm actually training. I'm telling the kids on their breaks they need to learn how to start making apps and stuff, so we really can start having our own stuff, because this is crucial. I mean, we already see issues with Twitter and with Facebook censoring information, censoring hashtags, censoring trending topics. We've seen Google doing this. Well, Google runs it all, right?